Hello and welcome to Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. I am Jennifer Helm, the Faithful Stamper, and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! Today I have for you a scrapbook layout. So I'm going to clear the workspace here because it takes up all the workspace that I have, but I just wanted to share really quickly, if you need an annual catalog, please feel free to get in touch with me to view products online. Here's the website, and you can find me on Facebook as the Faithful Stamper as well, and I do videos there once a week, share different challenges, product specials, etc. there as well. So here is page 1 of our scrapbook layout, and then page 2. So the general idea I saw shared by another demonstrator, but I did pretty much all the sizing and layout pieces myself, chose different paper from our current catalog. So the suite that I'm using is the Cheers and Sips. I'm actually only using one stamp here today. And then all the paper from our, I think it's Celebrate and Sips, which is fun. Beautiful prints. You can see several different ones here on the page. And this is just a quick, easy scrapbook layout. So we are going to go ahead and get started, and I'll share the dimensions with you. So to start, we are using a 12 by 12 piece of Mossy Meadow cardstock. And to that, we are going to add a piece of basic white cardstock that has had 1/2 inch trimmed off of each side. So you can see here, you can't quite see the whole thing top to bottom, but there's a little gap at the top and the bottom and a wider gap on the side. I didn't want to fool with trying to make it match all the way around. I don't feel like doing that much math. So let's go ahead and get started here. What we're going to do is take 6 different pieces of 3 by 4 designer series paper. Again, from that Celebrate and Sips. And I did my arranging ahead of time so that I would not have to finagle lots of pieces while we were on camera. And I'm going to position them kind of close together and towards the inside of the page. We're going to have a little more space at the top and down the side. I kind of went bare bones with this, so if this is a layout that you like, but you're thinking, yeah, it's a little plain, feel free, jazz it up. This is just a creative springboard for you to get some inspiration for a page. So let me bring over my Stampin' Seal. No special adhesive needed for this. Whatever you like to use in your scrapbooking is fine. You don't need a super duper holder or anything like that. Now, these panels, I want to put about 1 inch from the bottom, and I'm going to run out of space, I think, on my table today. Scrapbook layouts are always hard to film, but I have a scrap of paper that happens to be 1 inch tall, so I'm just going to lay that down here at the bottom. And then I'm going to use a ruler that I have handy to kind of guess this across, or kind of keep me straight across the paper. I didn't feel like doing pencil marks or anything like that. Pardon me, I haven't had a tickle all day long. Go live on camera, here we are. So now what I'm going to do is just put adhesive on the backs of all my panels of paper here. And I'm going to eyeball this. If you are really particular, please feel free. Pencil marks, rulers, do the whole bit. I'm going to come in maybe about 1/2 inch. Let me see, maybe a little less than 1/2 inch on the side. And I'm just going to put down that first panel. And then I'm going to add some more. I used not quite all the prints from this pack of paper. And I'm going to leave, as I said, I want it kind of a narrow space between these panels of paper. So there's the bottom 3. And then what I'm doing, I always confuse myself when I use the front and back of a piece of paper, because then I start to overthink, did I put glue on the right side? Am I doing it right? But I'm just gonna eyeball this second set of paper by lining it up. They're close enough, I can kind of eyeball where I want it and make sure it's side to side and straight up and down. Again, if you've got OCD, which I normally do, this is very outside the norm for me to just eyeball things like this. It's one thing when it's just a card front, but this is a lot of space to cover. It's a lot of real estate, right? So if you need to, break out those rulers and those pencils. Okay, so just like that, we've got a majority of the page done. Now to this, I'm going to add, let's see here. First, we're going to start with the banners, and then we'll add our photo boxes. So again, bare bones, but just some inspiration to get you started. I die cut a piece of the Designer Series paper with our stylish shapes. This is the largest of the wide banners. And then for this smaller one that I pre-cut, you don't need to see my ugly stamping, my stamp cleaner, good gracious. It's well used, been using it a lot today. I'm gonna just add the word cheers to this small banner. I hemmed and hawed and tried to decide what did I want to do for this, how many photo boxes, how many titles, what were we gonna do? And I thought, you know what? I'm not gonna drive myself crazy. If you've been to the page before, you know that I am not a scrapbooker. At heart, I am a card maker through and through. So scrapbooking is very much outside my box. So what I'm going to do now is use some dimensionals. I'm not using a lot of dimensionals for this product, and I've got extra backings sticking everywhere. You might notice I've got some pink on the back of my dimensionals. I'll show you why I'm doing that in a minute. Let's see here. And I'm just gonna stagger the banners like that. I actually took a highlighter and colored very roughly the backs of my dimensionals with the highlighter. Then I let it dry, so I did this a couple days ago. Now I don't lose them so much on my table because when I cover them up, I can see the pink and I know that's what I'm looking for. And it also helps me to distinguish whether or not I've taken the backing off the dimensional or not. It's a little tip I heard recently that I decided to put into practice. Okay. So here's our page, our simple banners. Now we have one 3x3 photo box and one 3x4, either photo or journal box. And they are matted. And of course my adhesive is going to do its usual circus trick and not want to work. But I matted them all with a slightly larger mat. So this is a 3x3 photo or journaling box matted on a 3¼ inch square. And then, I backed these in Blackberry Bliss cardstock. And then this one's 3x4 matted by 3¼ and by 4¼ And so that's our page right there. And then for a little accent, we're adding a little bit of bling. These are our holographic resin dots. I love them. Mine came largely displaced when they arrived from Stampin' Up, and that's okay. I'm just gonna add a couple of these to the panel. I like them because they might look, I won't say obnoxious, but they're kind of in your face when you get the packet. I was like, whoa, they're brighter than I thought. But guess what? I love them because they really pick up the color of whatever you add to the, like whatever color DSP you add them to. So they're not as in your face once you add them to a color, but they are nice and bright, iridescent. So there's page 1 done already. So for page 2, I actually did some prep work because I don't think you wanted to see me glue forever and ever. So I have, the layout is very similar, but here, these are 3x4 pieces of paper, the Designer Series paper. Here I matted them, so the papers are still 3x4, but they're matted on the 3¼ by 4¼ So, some people might not like that because they're slightly different, but let me show you. It's so similar in the way I lined them up. It doesn't hit your OCD quite as much. So let's go ahead and finish this. So again, Mossy Meadow on the outside, same the Whisper White that's had 1/2 inch taken off the top and the side. Then 6 panels of Blackberry Bliss, 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. 3 pieces of Designer Series paper, 3 by 4. And then here I have just tacked down some white photocopy paper. These are my photo holders. I've done it with an adhesive that's kind of like a Post-it note, so that I can peel this off and put my photo down when I'm ready to actually add photos to the page. Now, this is just going to be as quick with the decorating. I have die cut another one of the banners from the Designer Series paper. I added a skinny one. This is the long skinny one in Berry Burst. And then I cut another white one, but I did a little bit of trimming. I cut the top off each one of these. And then I stamped the strawberry from the Cheers and Sips stamp set. And I colored it using light Real Red and then light Granny Apple Green. So what I'm going to do, now that I've got the rest of the paper together, I'm going to position my banner up here at the top. Next, I'm going to add the Berry Burst banner, and I coordinated all my colors together. And then last but not least, I'm going to glue on this banner. I decided to keep them all level to the top. I thought about spreading them out kind of 1, 2, 3, but I liked it better this way. Just kind of a little accent to this page. And then I could add photos or journaling boxes here, but I want to add some of our beautiful glasses since we're kind of going with the Cheers and Sips theme. These I fussy cut from the paper. We do have a die set that does cut out some of the glassware, but I opted just to fussy cut because the dies will not fussy cut out the extra additives like the leaves here. So I wanted to make sure that I cut those out. And I just picked glasses that I liked that looked good with my backdrop. So let's see. I've been back and forth how I'm gonna do this. Isn't it funny how sometimes your embellishments take you the longest time to position on your paper? So this one I'm gonna pop with some dimensionals. And again, since I've got that nice pink highlighter on the back, I can tell this one's already done. And it saves me time not touching them all, trying to feel if I've got the sticky part ready to go or not. So keep that little tip in mind if you're like me and you lose your dimensionals all the time, or you can't tell if you peeled the backing off. All right. And here we go. We're just going to add a couple more of our little bling pieces. My DSP is a little bit different on this layout as opposed to the first one that I did. So they're not going to be as noticeable here, but I think we'll still do the trick. All right. And then we are finished with our scrapbook layout. So there's page 2. And page 1, and a really tight view of them both. So this is the one with the Mossy Meadow around the sides. And then this was the original one I showed you just so you can see the differences in the paper. That I did my matting in the Mossy Meadow and the outside in the Blackberry Bliss. So there is a quick and simple, it really doesn't get much simpler than this, scrapbook layout featuring those Cheers and Sips. So I hope you like it and that it gives you some inspiration for your next set of scrapbook pages. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you checking out the videos on this page. As always, if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love for you to do so. You can click that notification bell and receive a little ding or an alert each time a new video is posted here on the page. And as always, you can find me over at The Faithful Stamper on Facebook, and you can reach out to me online at any time for any questions or catalog needs. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and happy crafting.